Hi guys, welcome to Rufio. It's Joe here. Apologies if there's any noise in the background. I am recording my OTS as usual, so everyone's outside getting all excited about the games they're playing out there. Anyway, I just wanted to show you a deck that I've been wanting to pick up for some time now. This is Blackwing. So Blackwings, when I used to play, they were really fucking good. And I left the game and I came back, and they've had like a million new monsters in support, and they're still not good. Now, I assume that's partially to do with the master rule changes. They can't really spam synchros in the same way they did before. But I've been sort of working on testing online, and this is the deck that I've come up with so far that I've been playing. This is certainly not perfect. Please don't take this as gospel. This is just something I've been working on that I believe is good fun. And it just goes second and blow your opponent out. Generally the theme of things. Again, it's probably not perfect. I'm still not 100% on what everything does off the top of my head, so apologies if I do fluff throughout the video. I just know that in testing, these combinations have worked pretty well for me so far. So yeah, without too much more rattling on, I should say, I'll get stuck in. So far I've got triple Simoon the Poison Wind. So this is one of your main starters in your deck. You want to see this as quickly as possible. It's going to help you get Black Whirlwind on the field really quick, and it becomes an additional normal summon on its own, meaning that you can set up a second one and go into your normal plays. It's really, really important that you get this as quickly as possible. A lot of the time without this, you find yourself a little bit stuck. So yeah, it's a 3 of, absolutely must remain at that. I would definitely recommend not playing anything different to that. We then have the classic triple Gale the Whirlwind. I'm pretty sure this was limited at one point, if I'm not mistaken, when Blackwings were originally stomping around. Anyway, so this has the effect of, obviously, it can just half your opponent's attack of one of their monsters. It is also a tuner, which is nice and cool, and it's a free summon, so what's not to like? We then have triple Borer the Spear, another classic again, one I'm very comfortable with. It does plenty of pierce damage, and of course, it's another free body on board. Again, just getting those names through, and yeah, I'm sure you can work out the rest. So Hamat in the Dust is another free summon. Again, it will copy the level, oh, it will increase its level, I should say, by another Blackwings level on summon. So again, it can make some pretty cool plays there, going to your synchros, that kind of stuff. We've got Us to the Wind. If I'm not mistaken, this is the one where it summons one that's banished. Again, you only, I don't know, maybe I could cut this to 1, but 2 seems okay so far. It does have an additional effect to do with feather counters and that kind of thing, but I won't go into that now. We have one Zephyros. This one's been beaten around loads in loads of cool decks recently, especially ones that abuse extenders. It's just a free summon from grave. It bounces one back to hand, summons itself, you take some damage, who cares? We then have one Kalut the Moon Shadow. This is the one that's like honest. You discard it and just, yeah, get loads of attack boost. 1400 to be specific. So yeah, one of the classics again. We've got Vayu. This one you banish from grave with another one, and then you can do the whole synchro summoning thing up to the same level of their levels. You know what I mean. We've got one Breeze the Zephyr, so when this is added to hand off an effect, it can summon itself for free. It is also a tuner, which is obviously really important in the synchro-based deck. So when you add this off Black Whirlwind, it's going to be a free summon. This again is another free summon, but when it's synchro summoned off, or used for a synchro summon, I should say, it can change the battle position of one of your opponent's monsters. That's Orishi, or whatever it's pronounced that. We've got Chris the Crack of Dawn. Sadly, I believe only comes in this gold rare. Normally I'm a big fan of gold rare, but this looks pretty fucking hideous to me. You can only summon one of these per turn this way, so there's no point having multiples. You don't want to see multiples and get through them. But yeah, it's just a free summon, essentially. We then have Steam the Cloak. This is your token generator, as you may very well know. Pretty famously known as it is. And then we've got one Blackwing Blizzard. This is going to summon one from your graveyard in defense position. Again, it's just going to help you build a quick board. Being a tuner, it can summon something else of a level that can help you go into a synchro play. So yeah, pretty cool, but I think a 1 of is absolutely fine. That's it for the monsters. Apologies if I didn't go into a lot of detail there, guys. Again, it's just what parts of the effects that I'm particularly familiar with. I'm sure there's some details you can look up yourself. They will be on the side of this video, of course. You'll be able to look into those in a bit more detail. We then have the most important card in the deck. I don't care what anyone says, Black Whirlwind. This is just going to add another Blackwing on a normal summon. So you'll normal summon one, and you can add a Blackwing from your deck with less attack than that one. It's not once per turn. It's absolutely fucking stupid. If you can get 3 of these on the field, then you just normal summon one. You get to add 3. Go crazy, man. And then you get a Simoon. Oh, yeah, just add another 3. Who cares? Go crazy. Fucking card's broken. was absolutely nuts back in the day. It's still very, very good now. Again, it's just unfortunate the archetype isn't as strong as it once was. We then have Triple Allure. Again, all of your stuff is dark, so you're going to want to grind through your deck as quickly as possible. This does have the issue of if you don't see Simoon, you are usually in trouble. Again, this is just going to help you get through your deck and see that as quickly as possible to set up your board, set up your plays, and mull your opponent. And again, the idea is that we're just going to go second and blow our opponent out. I'm not going to mess around too much. We're not going to try and set up and defend ourselves too much if avoidable. We just want to plough through our opponent as quickly as possible. So with that in mind, you want to be able to protect our plays when going second. So Call by the Grave is going to help us do that. Stop your opponent like ashing you, that kind of thing, which is really, really important. The deck is quite fragile in a lot of ways, although it can just vomit out a ton of monsters. You just want to be able to protect those effects, the ones that are very key to go off and just go through your plays. We have triple Twin Twisters. Again, back row can be a real problem for this deck. Stuff like Altergeist, anything with loads of interrupts, you want to force them into activations and just force them basically to use up all their back row so that you are free and clear to just plough through them. Twin Twisters is going to help you get there, and discard's not a big deal because you can discard stuff like Vayu, that kind of thing, and just set up plays further down the line. We've got one Monster Reborn because it's a free extender. Yeah, pretty much explains itself. Monster Reborn, one of the most famous cards in the game. I'm sure I don't need to go into detail about what it does. And one Regeki. So Regeki's pretty much fallen out of favour in, well, pretty much every deck in the land. But I feel like one that's going second, if you can just clear your opponent's board, if they're particularly fragile, this is just going to be a win button because you're going to spew out so much damage in turn one that you're just going to just kill them anyway. I'll say turn one, turn two. Your turn one, I should say. So we move on to our traps. So we're running triple evenly matched. So evenly matched is very, very budget friendly. This deck weirdly isn't. Like everything's kind of like £3-4 each, and it adds up real quick. Like it's taken me a while to get this together. It's stuff that people don't generally have. But anyway, that's besides the point. Evenly matched has just been reprinted, so everyone should have pretty reasonable access to it. So yeah, 3 of those is really, really good. Again, going second, just blow your opponent's field out, build a little bit of a board, and then hopefully they can't push through it. So we then have one Blackbird Close. So when your opponent, one of your opponent's monsters activates its effect, you can send a Blackwing monster you control to the grave, negate it, and destroy it. It does also have an additional effect. So if you're running Blackwing Dragon, which I'm not in this particular build, you can special summon it from the deck. From the extra deck, I should say. It's a counter trap. It can also be activated from the hand if you control a Blackwing Synchro monster, which is really, really cool. Again, going second, it means that you can actually make some additional plays and stop your opponent going crazy. So we move on to our extra deck. So there are a ton of synchros, as you can imagine. We'll go through the links afterwards. So firstly, we'll start with Borrowed Savage Dragon. Again, you're going to go through some plays. This is really, really good if you're forced to go first. It gives you a way to negate your opponent's effects, gives you a free negate, whatever. So I'll go through the synchros and explain them as I go along. I will read the effects as I go through them so that you can hear what they do. There are so many that you're likely to get confused, and so am I. So there's Assault Blackwing, Chidori Deranged Sprinkling. So if it's synchro summoned using a Blackwing monster, it's treated as a tuner monster as well. It gains 300 attack for each Blackwing monster in the graveyard, which is just absolutely crazy. When it's destroyed and sent to the graveyard, you can target a winged beast type synchro monster in the graveyard, accept itself, and special summon it. So it's just going to keep that recursion going around, which is pretty cool. We then have Assault Blackwing Reikiri, the something. So if it's synchro summoned using a Blackwing monster, again, much like the other ones, it's treated as a tuner. While face up on the field, once per turn, you can target cards your opponent controls up to the number of Blackwings you have and just destroy them. Pretty cool for blowing them out. Again, it's just going to help you go through your OTKs. We then have Nothing the Starlight. So a bit of a slightly longer effect on this one. So, if this card is special summoned, you inflict 800 damage to your opponent, and then one face-up monster your opponent controls loses 800 attack and defense. You can only use the effect once per turn. During your main phase, you can normal summon one Blackwing monster additional to your normal one. So you just gain additional normal summons, but of course it's really important with your Blackwing, Black Whirlwind, that you're just going to keep getting more pluses off that. Really, really important. We then have Armor Master, again, another one of the classics. So it can't be destroyed by battle, and you take no battle damage involving the card. At the end of the damage step, if it attacked the monster, you can place a wedge counter on the monster, and then you can remove all wedge monsters from your opponent's monsters. The attack and defense of those monsters become 0 if they have a wedge counter on them, basically. So yeah, again, it's just going to blow over your opponents. We have another Reikiri the Shower. Sorry, I was meant to be with the other ones. We've got one Obsidian Hawk Joe. Again, another absolute beast of text. So you can target one level 5 or higher winged beast type monster in your graveyard and special summon it. During either player's turn, when your opponent activates a card or effect that targets only this card, when your opponent targets this card for an attack, you can target one of the Blackwing monsters you control that would be an appropriate target, and this card's effect attack now targets that target. You can only use the effect of this once per turn. So essentially, you summon something else and then shift all of the blame onto that card. We then have double full armor master. So this is one of the newer printed cards. Again, really strong. Just nuking out your opponent's stuff. So it's unaffected by other card effects, and each time your opponent monster activates an effect, each time your opponent's monsters activate an effect, you get a wedge counter on that opponent's monster. After it resolves, that is. Once per turn, you can target one monster your opponent controls with a wedge counter, take control of it, and once per turn during your end phase, you can destroy all monsters on the field that control a wedge counter. So you've got a way of taking control of your opponent's stuff, abusing it, and then just blowing everything up at the end. It's a really good card. It can be really problematic for people to try and out. We then have one Wee Witch's Apprentice. You could argue the case of running more of these because everything in the deck is dark, so you could quite easily spew these out and just boost your attacks and just increase your chances of OTKing. We then have a Nightmare Package. Again, utility is really key. These have all got different names. You've got loads of different ones. It's going to be really easy to summon these. It's just going to out problematic back row, any problematic special summon monsters, and, well, basically anything, in fact. This is just really good utility to have in any deck where possible. We then have one Topologic Trisbania. Again, back row can be a real problem, so if you can get into this and then sacrifice one of your monsters to blow out all of their back row, that can be a really good route to explore. And then we finally have one Borosor Dragon. So again, not very budget friendly, but then if you're investing in Blackwings, it's probably not very budget friendly anyway, you might have accepted by now. This is getting a reprint soon, which is something really cool. Again, you can run other cards in place of this, however, I just think this is pretty undisputed champion at the moment. It's an instant win button, and yeah, absolutely fantastic for it. So thanks again for checking in, guys. Apologies if I'm a little bit stuttery. I'm just trying to work out all the effects to go along because yeah, I've been, like I said, I've been trying this out. It's so many new ones, there's so many different ones, trying to remember them all. It gets a little bit crazy. So thank you very much again for checking in. Big shout out to Mark for giving me the space to record this. Yeah, don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.
Well, that's all we have time for in this video. Well done for making it this far, you absolute weirdo. Shout out to you, I suppose. Thank you very much for watching, and don't forget to hit the subscribe button. It'll make me smile, I promise. While you're at it, you should find me on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram at RufioYT. Don't forget you can find the links in the description. Thanks again for checking in, and I will see you in the next one.